Raphael Honigstein of The Athletic, thank you so much for joining us on DN Sport. We're honored to have you on the show, sir. Rafa, as a German football fan, I'm not going to ask you how has the World Cup been so far for you, but how has the World Cup been so far? We've seen a lot of upsets. We've seen teams like Morocco, Japan qualifying for the knockout rounds. Morocco even beating Spain on penalties and making it to the quarters. This is just ridiculous. What's your take on this?
Yeah, Morocco is the big story of this tournament. Playing really super disciplined tactical football, frustrating teams, having quality, especially on the width. When it comes to the width, with the fullbacks and with Ziyech, and yeah, just sort of team that I think everyone can get behind. Just refreshing to see them play so well. But on the whole, I think now as you see the number of teams dwindling down, I think we're still going to end up with the usual suspects. I see Brazil, Argentina, then you have one from England, France, maybe Croatia. These are your semi-finalists. So I think for all the unpredictability that you've seen in the group stages, you're still, I think, going to end up with the kind of teams you expected at the first when the draw was made. The World Cup has a habit of somehow not being that open when it comes to the teams who actually win it. We've seen teams like Turkey make the semi-finals, South Korea, maybe Morocco will make it this time, but the number of teams winning it is really super small. And I don't think it's going to be different in that respect this year.
So who are your final four semi-finalists?
I think it's going to be Argentina, Brazil, France, and was it Portugal or Morocco? Portugal.
The Netherlands, Argentina tie. I think it'll be, in my opinion, I think it'll be a tie between tactics and passion, right? Van Gaal is all about tactics. He'll set up a very, in my opinion, I think it'll be a very conservative or a very pragmatic formation. And I think the Argentinian players, they're not even playing for Argentina. They're playing for Leo Messi, his last World Cup. And I think it's written in the stars. I don't know. I just feel it. What do you think? How is the match going to pan out? It's. I think this game is the most difficult to call on.
Yeah, I mean, these are both teams that have real quality, but also weaknesses. I think you're right. This Dutch team is very regimented, not very fun to look at, quite functional with mostly five at the back, out of possession, and they don't create a lot of chances. They'll try to play on the break against Argentina. But Argentina have more quality in the team, not just Messi. So it's going to be pretty tight, and it wouldn't be the biggest upset if the Dutch somehow squeeze through. I just think Argentina just a little bit better on the whole. And yeah, Messi, look, I think he's been close, never closer than in 2014. And there's a good chance that he'll do it, but I still see Brazil and France as better sides. So I think whatever happens, Argentina will not be favorites to, in the end, lift the trophy, in my view, because they'll have to get most likely past Brazil and then probably meet France in the final. And I would make those other two teams still favorites to beat the Argentina. But yeah, there is the Messi factor. You're right. I think the whole nation wants to win, but Argentina always very motivated, always very passionate about the shirt. The fans are going to outnumber the fans from the Netherlands by the factor of 20 or something in the stadium. So they have a big chance of at least making it to the semis, and then I would probably expect them not to make it all the way, but let's see what he can do in his last dance.
Yeah, you're not making friends with the Messi fans, are you? Saying that. But yeah, I have to agree with you on that. Yeah. England, France, I think is going to be a very tasty battle. Kyle Walker and Kylian Mbappe. That is one battle you'd like to see. It's not like Kyle Walker's coming up against Mbappe for the first time. I think he's played against Mbappe four times previously for against City and PSG. Uh, how do you see that battle panning out?
I don't think you can really limit it to this battle. I know that's what everyone focuses on in the preparation and the build-up, but I think France as a team have so much depth, so much quality. You can easily see Mbappe having a slightly quieter game, but then Griezmann popping up between the lines, Giroud being too hard to handle for Maguire, or the likes of Dembele coming on, Coman on the wings. France, even with all the injured players, have a ridiculous team in terms of quality, and that's why they were my pick before the start of the tournament. A lot of people thought maybe as World Cup holders they would somehow implode or not quite have the same motivation or discipline. But I think it almost doesn't matter what system this team plays or what they're doing with Deschamps on the training pitch, because the quality of the players is just on another level. That's why I'm sticking with France. I think Kyle Walker will have a hard time, obviously. But I think the tougher issue might be for England of keeping the ball against this French team. I think they are less reactive than they were in 2018, where they were much more counter-attacking. I think now they're better with also playing in possession. And England traditionally struggle when they don't have the ball. That's when they look at their weakest, they kind of panic a little bit, and they're not really built to be patient without the ball. So for me, that's the key thing. If France can keep the ball, then I think they have a really good chance to do what Croatia has done, to do what Italy has done, which is to just kind of grind and wear England down. That's for me is going to be the key for this game.
Also, if you look at the injuries or the absences for England just coming into this fixture, it's very tricky. Declan Rice has a strain. Callum Wilson, same, has a strain. Then, of course, the very tragic, disturbing news of Raheem Sterling. He had to go back to his place in London. But reports are coming that he might be rejoining the team in Qatar, in the just in time for the game against France. And we all know Ben White has returned to England as well. So do you see the England camp, because England's midfield in this tournament with Henderson, Declan Rice at the base of the midfield, and of course Jude Bellingham. We'll come on to him as well. But do you see England being a bit rattled because of these injuries and absences?
Not so much. I think Raheem Sterling absence is not as problematic as perhaps it would have been if Marcus Rashford hadn't come strongly into form, if Phil Foden didn't have such a great game, and Saka also looks very good. So there's enough options there. It's not going to be, I think, a real game changer, whether he's available or not. Of course, you'd like him to be there for all sorts of reasons. Declan Rice would be a problem because he gives both Henderson and Bellingham the platform to play. And Bellingham's always looked best in the three midfield on the left. And if they have to reshuffle that with Rice not being there, then I think you might lose some of the impact, especially with the ball that Jude can bring. So that's going to be a worrying concern if he's not fully fit. I think the others, yeah, these are fringe players. I wouldn't say that they're crucial for England's chances. Of course, if it builds up, if you go deep into the tournament and you are forced to put players on that otherwise you wouldn't have expected to, then it might come to the problem where you lose a bit of quality, and that might make the difference. But I don't think we've quite reached that point with England yet.
Yeah. So do you have anything for us on Jude Bellingham? We've heard previously it was Liverpool in for him. In my opinion, they should have signed him in the summer, right? but now Real Madrid, Man City, and very recently PSG is also in for him. Where do you see Jude Bellingham going? It's being reported that he wants Liverpool. Liverpool obviously want him, and Liverpool will go out all out, maybe even the giant window uh, for him. But yeah, what do you have for us? Like, what do you think is going to happen?
So first of all, there was no chance that he could have been bought last summer. He didn't want to leave. Dortmund didn't want to sell, so that was a total non-starter. It's going to be the same for January. There's absolutely no chance that any club can buy him in January. So don't think Liverpool are even contemplating that option. Neither will be the other teams. When it comes to the summer, I don't think a decision has been made. Reports, as you said, have suggested all along that Liverpool have some kind of stolen a march on the competition. But we know how difficult it is in football unless you actually get the signature over the line. Just to give you an example, Tchouaméni was deep into discussions with both Man City and Liverpool thought at one point that they have, if not an agreement, then certainly a really good chance of finding the agreement. Suddenly Real Madrid come in and bang, he goes to Spain. So it's very difficult, I think, on the basis of gossip and good omens, and it might happen, might not happen, to predict, because this is inherently an unpredictable part of the game. I have heard also about Real Madrid being very strongly linked. I think the attraction with Madrid would be that he can then sort of almost put off that big move back into the Premier League for another 3 or 4 years, and then be in even a stronger position to basically decide where he wants to go, perhaps depending on where these clubs are at the time. I think that was also something that Haaland contemplated by at some stage looking at Bayern, thinking if I go to Bayern now, then I give myself more time to make the big Premier League move. But in the end, City pushed really hard, and Bayern didn't have a clear path for him, with Lewandowski still being there. So it's not something you can bet on because you have very incomplete information and it's constantly changing. So I don't think it makes a lot of sense predicting what will happen in 6 months' time. But I think it's safe to say that he will make a move. Dortmund are happy to have as many clubs as possible involved to create a bit of an auction. But ultimately, it comes down to him. If he wants to decide that he wants to go to Liverpool rather than Man City, the fact that Man City will offer £20 million more might raise the price a little bit for Liverpool, but it doesn't stop the player going, because Dortmund will not say, we'll sell you to City instead. They've asked for more money. It's still the player's decision once the minimum requirement is fulfilled as far as the transfer fee is concerned. So yeah, watch this space. I don't think we'll see a decision anytime soon. I think it's going to take probably until, I would say, maybe February, March before we have a clear picture.
We'll reach out to you and ask you in Feb or March.
Don't ask me, ask.
Ask you, but you're a German, Dortmund, Rafa, would it be fair to say that Cristiano Ronaldo's time, his era at Portugal, has come to an end after Gonçalo Ramos bagged in that hat trick in the last game?
I wouldn't go that far, because I can still see a scenario where he comes on late on and scores maybe an important goal, and then he makes a difference between getting knocked out or getting into extra time or going through. So he'll still be useful as an option, but that option will in all likelihood be from the bench. And it's up to him whether he accepts that and wants to play for the team, or if his ego is so hurt by what he will see as a personal betrayal, as he often always does when the coach doesn't play him or play him the way he wants to be, and then opt out. So it's down to him how he wants to finish this story with Portugal, what kind of legacy he wants to leave. But you can see a pattern emerging that whoever the coach is, they don't fully trust him anymore to play through 90 minutes and to play by themselves up front, which is, I think, probably beyond him now, and simply in terms of the physical capabilities that he has. And so far, he's always reacted really, really badly and taken it very personally, which at 37, you'd think maybe there'd be slightly more maturity and adult behavior. But I think in his heart of heart, he's still a little kid who gets very upset when you take the ball away from him. So down to him, I think, to find that maturity to deal with that situation.
Yeah, Piers Morgan might disagree with you over that.
It's exactly the same character, so they understand why they like each other.
Exactly, exactly. So where does that leave Ronaldo? He's not employed by a club anymore. Um, his recent spat with the Portuguese manager in this World Cup. I know the Portuguese Federation has come out today and released a statement in saying he never threatened to leave or anything like that. But like you say, there is a pattern here. There is a pattern here that whoever the coach is, uh, Ronaldo just makes a fuss and doesn't like to be benched, even at 37, 38 years old, right? So, and he has ambitions of still playing for a club that is challenging for the Champions League, right? Where does that leave him? How do owners, how do managers across Europe look at him now after that interview with Piers Morgan, especially? Why would you want a disruptive force in your dressing room?
It's helped him to get out of Man United, but I don't think it's done him any favors to find employment at a high level, because the kind of clubs that said no to him in the summer and again this winter will be only strengthened their belief that it's not worth it, that you get too much drama, too much baggage, that he will not accept his place on the bench within the squad, and is really motivated by playing himself, by scoring. And you see that seriously run clubs just don't feel it's worth the hassle. You have huge upsides. You have the world's media on you. You will be super attractive to marketing, to sponsors. Your own merchandising sales will definitely not suffer. But the really well-run clubs, for them, that's an afterthought. They want, first of all, success on the pitch. They want dressing room harmony. And the only place or the only scenario where I think he can find a top-level club in the Champions League is where there's a very strong owner who is sort of above the manager when it comes to making decisions and doesn't really care so much. That's why the negotiations with Chelsea looked quite promising for him, because you had that scenario. You had new American owners who thought about putting Chelsea on the map in a much bigger way, who wanted that big name. And then you had a very strong manager who said, absolutely not. And in the end, you can say the owners won, but of course, at a point where Ronaldo was no longer viable because the transfer window had closed at that point. But even Chelsea, I think, will be wary to go down that route, and I can't see Potter wanting Ronaldo in the dressing room. So it's just a case of finding a place where perhaps the non-sporting considerations are stronger than the influence of a coach or of a sporting director who wants a more harmonious dressing room. It's going to be difficult, but not impossible.
Do you think he'll go to Al Nassr? The ridiculous offer that they have put in for him, 200 million euros a year. I think he might. Why do I say that? Because Messi almost, he's likely to sign for Inter Miami, right? For Beckham's team. I mean, that's what the chatter is. Messi's also asked for Luis Suarez to be signed there as well. So you never know. Ronaldo's drive, I think, is also driven by where Leo Messi is, what's he doing, how many Ballon d'Ors has he won, how many Champions Leagues has he won. I want to win some more. Do you think this is a factor that will decide in Ronaldo picking his next club?
I don't know if he is that concerned about what Messi does. I think if Messi doesn't continue scoring goals in the Champions League, it'll be as a relief to Ronaldo, because he always has his eye on scoring records in that competition. That's why he was so desperate also to find the Champions League club and get out of Man United for this season. I don't know what his motivation is at this point. If he says, you know what, the money is so good that if I can't find anything else, then I'll go to play in Saudi, or if he'll say, you know what, that's maybe a good point to say enough is enough, and let's stop playing. I'm not familiar with his thinking in that respect. I'm not sure he knows at this point. I think, judging from what we're hearing, I think he's still holding out for a move into a Champions League club, and hoping that there'll be enough demand for him. And of course, not playing a big role in the World Cup, not being seen as really important for Portugal will hurt his chances, which is, I think, another reason why he's finding it very hard to take at this point.
Well, Rafa, it was an honor speaking to you. Thank you so much for joining us and enlightening us with your views.
You're very welcome. My pleasure.